Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here with us today. I have the honor of introducing Denise. And Denise, I want you to do me a favor. By the way, welcome.
Thank you. So glad to be here, Barbara.
Thank you. Please pronounce your last name. I don't want to screw it up.
It's okay. You wouldn't be the first and you won't be the last. And I'm getting married next year, so it's about to get a lot more complicated. But for now, it's Dominguez.
Dominguez. Okay.
Right.
Very good. Okay. So audience, I would like to introduce you to Denise, and I'm going to read about her so that you have a basic understanding before we get started. So Denise is a woman's transformational coach specializing in post-narcissistic relationships. She helps divorced women or women coming out of a breakup who feel lost and or stuck in life as she was at a point in her life. Denise built her coaching practice around her own story of divorce, where she was married for over 20 years in a very toxic relationship. Denise now guides women in their healing journey to show up in women energy so that they can find themselves and create an amazing life for themselves, a life that once was just a dream. Denise is now engaged, as she just told us, to a man of her dreams, lives in beautiful North Carolina, and has a thriving coaching business. She speaks on stage to give a message of healing post-narcissistic relationships and has written several books on the topic. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. I don't even remember doing that.
It's amazing what we write when we
I know. It sounds pretty good though, Barbara.
Well, hopefully you can speak about your journey, because I think your journey is amazing, and I know our audience would find a lot of touching points, and to know that they're not alone for people that are going through similar journeys.
That's huge right there, Barbara, what you just said, because so many of us go through these things in life and we think, I'm the only one who's going through this. Nobody's going to understand my pain and my hurt and all of these emotions that I'm going through. And I once felt like that too, but now I know, and you know, that we're all one and we all experience the same emotions and we suffer from the same thing. So my journey started when I always start with when I left, because that was my new beginning. So here I am, 42 years old, leaving my only home state that I ever lived in, South Florida, and moved 3 states away and left with nothing but a futon couch and an air mattress. That was it. Because I was leaving my 22-year toxic relationship that had gotten to the point where it was so bad that I'd be a fool and crazy, like literally something's jiggling in there to stay a minute longer. So with that, I came here to North Carolina and rebuilt myself and my life back up. And it's been a beautiful journey ever since. I coincidentally, literally this coaching fell on my lap. I was like, I want a laptop life. How can I do that? So, so it all just, came into place. Once I released and let go of the toxic people and the toxic situations in my life, it opened up so many doors for me to really, that's why I put that in the bio, to live a life that I really want to wake up to every morning. So yes, I'm engaged to be married to the man of my dreams. And like I said before we started recording, met him in a random place that had no clue that this is where I would meet somebody. And life is amazing now. It's just so beautiful and amazing. So traveling and experiencing a healthy relationship for the first time and being able to help women heal after these toxic relationships. It's like, I never thought that this was what I was going to do. Never, ever.
So let me ask you a little bit about the first marriage that you had. when you met him and, were dating him and decided to marry him, were there signs that you were just not recognizing?
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, please.
There's always red flags. There's always signs. But what we do, especially as women, because we are natural caretakers and we naturally want to see the good in people, we don't want to see that this person is a bad person, or there's some manipulation or controlling behaviors that we're noticing. So yes, there were signs before we got married. And of course it grew from there. First of all, I want to say I was very young. I was 19 when I met him. And Barbara, what do we know at 19?
Nothing.
No. And got married at 21. And so I'm going to use that as my defense. I was very young. And so blind. And so here's the key, though. Not only was I young, but I came from a very disempowering relationship. My vision, my example of what a marriage looked like, what a relationship looked like, was disempowering. So there was a lot of emotional abuse in that. There was a lot of name calling and things like that, high tempers and things like that. So there wasn't a healthy love in the house. So that also, we attract who we are, not what we want. I think Wayne Dyer, that's a quote from Wayne Dyer. And it's true. So not knowing, okay, so abuse is very obvious when somebody's hitting you or sexually assaulting you. Clearly you're being abused. But with narcissistic abuse, it's a little harder to detect because we don't know. It comes on very subtle. There's all these very subtle behaviors that happen. And that's what happened with me. So of course he was very charming and charismatic in the beginning and very good looking, and he made money, and I was just like, and he had a nice body, and I was just, like I said, 19 and all, like, hormones were going crazy. And so that's what led, the connection and the chemistry, which turned into getting married and having children. And here's the thing about us women, we don't want to break up our family. We don't want to divorce. Like, we're in this for the long haul. We don't want to take our children away from their father. That breaks our heart. We don't want to do that. So we stay, make excuses. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get better. Things are getting worse. Things are getting worse. Things are getting worse. But we're just literally blind to what actually is going on. So that's a little bit of the beginning of what happened.
Were you going through something transforming in your life, or was it you woke up one day and realized, you needed to just get out? Talk a little bit about that, please.
Great question, Barbara. So it was a series of events that happened. So basically, the first event started, the first big event was in 2008 when my ex attempted to take his life with our 14-year-old daughter in the next room. And yeah, so prior to that, there was a lot of drug abuse. And when he was taking a cocktail of pills. So when you dabble in that and when you're self-medicating, it brings on a slew of other things that you don't expect, like depression, hallucinations, like all kinds of stuff. So that was the first thing. And it was that day I had told him I want a divorce. I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And so that was a part of him deciding to attempt to take his own life. So that was 2008. So then, of course, through that, now we're talking emergency, hospital, and my kid's traumatized. I'm traumatized. The whole family's traumatized. Of course, I can't leave him now. I felt like I would be this cold-hearted bee. So that led to 2011, where things had started to subside. They started to calm down now. Everything, all that hardship had passed. And I felt like, okay, I'm going to start a plan to leave again. So this time it was a strategic plan. I created a 5-month plan for myself. My daughter was about to graduate high school. And so I set that date after graduation, and I didn't have a job. So I was running his business. So the only income I had was through his business that I was running. There was a lot of financial abuse, as well as the manipulation and the control, which is a part of the narcissistic abuse. So everything was under my microscope. So I had to be very clever in how I was going to fill my piggy bank up to leave, because, you know, moving costs a lot of money. Okay, so 5 months, created a plan, manifested $10,000 to leave. That's what I thought was enough to leave, to get an apartment and just give me some time to pay some bills and find a job, which I did. I did all of that. I had a job in 4 weeks from being here, had an apartment in 4 days, and did everything that I set out to do because of this determination, my thoughts, my frequency, my vibration. So, so yeah, left South Florida. So here I am. I only had a futon couch and an air mattress, but when you tow a car on a moving truck, they require that you get the bigger truck. So here I am. Yeah, here I am, 5'6", blonde hair, green eyes, driving this huge 28-foot Penske truck from South Florida to North Carolina. It's like a 12-hour driving trip to start over, completely start over.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great that you were able to put it together and get out safely. I'm hoping that it was safe.
It was.
Good.
It was, at that time, it was, yeah, it was good. He even helped put our daughter's car on the car carrier to leave. He knew I was leaving, obviously. I'd moved out of the house into my friend's house prior to me actually leaving the state. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Did your daughter go with you?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know, that's definitely commendable that you were able to work it out, make it happen, manifest it all, and get out safely, because that's important.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, people that are narcissistic are really good at manipulating the situations and making you feel like it's all your fault, etc. So at least you came out okay on the other side. And I'm sure it wasn't a difficult journey once you got on the other side, but.
Well, that's a great point, actually, Barbara, because on the outside, it was okay. But on the inside, I was very broken, very damaged. I felt that way. I wasn't actually broken or damaged, but I felt that way. And so I went through a 2-year period after coming here, which I call my child archetype, who was showing up was my rebellious teenager. So I was doing things that I just think of like a wild child. That was me. I was being promiscuous. I was partying every weekend, getting drunk to the point of like, it was 2 years of me not being me. And I now know that I was, you know, I felt like that relationship was a prison. And so when I left, I felt like I had been released from the prison. I had been let out of the prison. And so when I say my rebellious teenager, I was like, well, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. And I did. And so once I started I started my business in that time. And once I started to look and go, Denise, that's not you. You don't do this stuff. You don't numb yourself every weekend and be very disrespectful to your body. So it was then that I started to stop all of that, stop dating on the apps. And I said, I'm just going to focus on me. I'm just going to start my business and just focus on me and learn more about me and be who I really am. So that led me to meeting the man of my dreams and everything growing from there. And like we were talking about, Barbara, before we started recording, it's all about the foundation of loving yourself in order for you to really, truly have anything that you desire in life. It starts with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can truly appreciate everything that you're saying. There was a period of time in my life where I had the similar experience. It lasted about 6 months, well, maybe less, but after my husband passed away. And that was a difficult marriage. And we were high school sweethearts. I got married right before my 19th birthday and had 2 daughters. But there was this tumultuousness in this relationship, and I did not understand why, although I did marry a domineering person like my dad. And 7 years before he died, there was a mental breakdown, and he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which answered a lot of the, like, what is going on question.
Yeah.
And, but when he passed away, it was like the chains were off. And even though I had 2 kids that needed me, and going through the grief process, I still was an utter mess and did all the wrong things and was totally all about me. I couldn't focus on anything else.
Yeah.
And finally, at about 6 months, things calmed down and so forth, where I could begin to focus. And I was running my own business at the time. And so, yeah, I mean, I can truly appreciate those feelings because I've been there.
It's a process and it's a journey. And what, Barbara, that you know, going through that and your clients, that we then attach a lot of shame and guilt to what we did or didn't do, because even in the marriage, like the decisions that we made in the marriage, because maybe our heart was in the right place. We were thinking of our kids, and that's why we stayed in the marriage and put up with, you know, X, Y, and Z. But we attach a lot of guilt and shame to those events, which disempowers us. And really, you know, like energy attracts like energy. So if I'm feeling shame and guilt about myself, that is a frequency that I'm going to put out to the world, and I'm going to attract the same coming in. So it's about letting go of that guilt and shame, that what you did, Barbara, and what I did was just part of the journey. It was just part of the process. We had to go through that to come out of that, to blossom into the women that we are. And plus, it's material for us to share with women around the world, right?
Absolutely. And you're right. I mean, everything that has occurred in my life, my philosophy is, this is a journey. I'm learning, and I have to look at everything as an experience, and what am I supposed to be getting out of this experience?
Right.
And because of that, I feel like I'm fulfilling the needs of my life, and that's what brought me to this moment.
And being able to share that now with other women, and being able to say, this is what I did. And instead of, because everything in life is a choice, right? So you could have chosen to stay in those low emotions and those low vibrations and say, I shouldn't have done this and I shouldn't have done that. God, I was such a bad mom, and I was such a bad this and I was such a bad that. But you chose to go, no, what am I supposed to learn out of this experience? What am I supposed to know about myself? So going forward, not only for myself, because everything begins and ends right here, but now you get to share that with the world.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I guess I was blessed, and I recognize this. even as a child going through the emotional torment that my dad put us through, I would lay in bed and say, there's got to be a better way. I'm not going to raise my kids like this. So I became a permissive parent, of course. But I just knew in my head, it had to be better. It had to be. And even through the rest of my life, I've always been like, I know this can get better. I feel that there is some thing I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
You know?
That voice inside of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nudging you to the next thing. And that, for our listeners listening right now, there was a voice inside of them that nudged them to click, enter their name and email, and listen to these interviews so that they could now grow from each of these talks. And whoever they resonate with is who they're going to blossom. They're really going to hear things. This is just life. There's going to be some that you don't and some that you do. And it's all good. It's all okay. But it's all part of growth, right? The nudging.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've always seeked it out. I remember listening to Tony Robbins. Like, I have cassettes and CDs of his.
Oh, cassettes.
Can you imagine how much that was?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I've always felt, you know, this need to self-improve and understand the dynamics of our minds and so forth. It's just been something that I've been doing, and to be able to do what I'm doing now and talking to such wonderful, generous, open, and knowledgeable people about this dating journey and life's journey as women or men, you know, trying to find love in their life. I feel so blessed and honored to be part of this community.
That's so awesome. Can I just share something real quick, Barbara, about that? Because the thing about, well, first, the thing about how we attracted these types of men, like you described, and my ex. So I want you to imagine a triangle, and a triangle has 3 points to it, right? We have the top point, and then we have the two bottom corners. So energetically, because everything is energy, right? Audience, if you didn't know that, now you do. Everything is energy. We send out a vibration. So back to the triangle. So at the top triangle, we have, like in the bio, woman energy, okay? And at the two corners, we have mother energy and we have daughter energy. So when we attract these men that we've been discussing that are, say, immature or, you know, narcissistic behaviors or whatever it is, it tells us, here's the good news about those people in our life. A, they're showing us our wounds and what we need to work on. B, if you've attracted child energy in your life, it's because you are running and operating from mother energy. You don't want to be in that mother energy, even when you're parenting, because like attracts like, mother and child always go together. You want to be in the woman energy. The woman energy, basically, she's got her shit together. So she has her healthy relationships, right? She doesn't put up with, you know, when she says yes, she means yes. When she says no, she means no. Her finances are in order. She's, you know, got that all together, where mother energy gives too much, loves too much, does too much, overworks, overdoes, over everything. And then she's left feeling frustrated and depleted and, you know, why is everybody taking advantage of me? Well, because you do everything for everybody and they know it, right? And then daughter energy is like what I was talking about before, that rebellious teenager, that drama queen, narcissistic behavior is an addict is under child energy. So when you go out into the dating world, ladies, you want to be showing up in your woman energy so that you attract, like attracts like, adult energy. You don't want to be in mother energy and attract another child.
Right.
Marriage is 100. You don't want a kid. Get a puppy. Way easier, and they love you unconditionally.
That's a great explanation for what you're describing, because when I think about my behaviors in the past, I was definitely coming from mother energy. And once I pulled that out of me, not that it's not still there, but once I pushed down that, you know, pleasing,
Yes.
mommy, let me help you do everything, and I allowed that woman energy to come up, that's where I blossomed.
Yep.
Truly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's where you want to be, especially when you're dating. For your audience, when they are creating their little bio on the dating apps, they want to be in that woman energy. Because as women, like I said, we're natural caretakers. So we're always thinking of someone else. So we think, oh, it's selfish for me to love myself. It's selfish. So just to know that, no, it's not being selfish. You have needs that need to be met in every relationship. Yeah. And it's okay to voice that.
That's wonderful. I mean, you've really delved into a lot of the nitty gritty of negative, poor choices, bad behavior, that kind of stuff, and how to emerge from that. So now that you've emerged, and or your clients, where do they go from there? Where do you go from? What do you advise?
Oh, always my last piece of advice when I do these beautiful talks is I always say to women, love yourself, be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself. Remember that, because we're so critical of ourselves. We're not patient. I should have this by now. Why don't I have this by now? I should have got that promotion by now. What? It's ticking. No, be patient and kind and loving to yourself. Talk to yourself like you're talking to your best friend. Compliment yourself. You're not being, conceited. You're loving. That's beautiful. Yeah.
I think it's important to hear those words that, you are beautiful, you are a kind person. And one of the things that I've recently learned is to say to myself, I actually have a commitment statement.
Beautiful.
And I mean, I really appreciate that, and it does make me feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all need to have a commitment statement to ourselves so that we can bring in our own power, our own womanness, our own authenticity. And we are committed to many things, but I think we need to be committed to ourselves first so that we can be whole, so that we can give and help others as the mother, or just as a human being, because until we're whole, we can't truly help others.
Exactly. And for your listeners, like energy attracts like energy. So if you, like I said in before, I felt broken, I felt damaged. First of all, none of us are broken or damaged. We're wounded, and wounds heal. But if you feel damaged and you feel broken, you're going to attract the same vibration in other people, the broken and the people who feel broken and damaged. And that's a very low vibration, low frequency. So yeah, you have to heal your past, take care of all those old stories that you think you did this, shame and blame and all that, and rise above that, get through that so that you can be in your woman energy and attract a man who is going to love and adore you. But you have to love and adore yourself first.
Beautiful message. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I always leave it with that. Just be kind, loving, and patient with yourself, and everything falls into place. So I just want the listeners to hear that.
That's great. That's a beautiful message.
Thank you.
Do you have a gift for our audience?
I do. It is, so we briefly touched on the triangle and the archetypes. I have a 90-minute self-love training call. That is the gift for everybody. And so in that call, so yes, grab your pen and paper, and yes, hit the pause button every 15 minutes, because I know 90 minutes is a long time. But what I do is I dive really deep into the archetypes and how we're showing up energetically in life, and how that is disempowering you, and why, because everything outside of us is a direct reflection of what's going on inside of us. So that's what the call does. And like, you know, Barbara, everything begins and ends with you loving yourself. So from you and me, two women who had no clue what self-love was, and now we're able to teach that to our clients, this is a great call to really, I break it up into the tiny pieces to understand like why we didn't, because we weren't shown, and then doing it now and the results of loving yourself.
Right.
So that's the gift.
That's wonderful. That's very generous. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. And so all they need to do is go to your website for that, and we can offer the link.
Yeah, the link is there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Denise, this has been very informative and very personal, and I really appreciate you sharing your journey with our audience and with me. And it was nice that we were able to relate to each other in that realm, and let other people know that they're not alone, that these kind of feelings are normal, and you can get over those wounds.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for having me as your guest. I am so excited for your audience and all the collaboration of audiences to hear all these beautiful messages, because they all benefit in one way. So to the audience, whoever you resonate with and listen to, and the tips to use, like, go for it, because that's what Barbara's doing. She's gifting you all of this juiciness.
Thank you. Yes, I am. Denise, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you. And audience, please go ahead and access her gift. And thank you very much for joining us.